What's up, you scallywags? Welcome to another episode of Reel Me In: a movie podcast where you didn't really ask for it, but hey, I'm gonna give it to you anyways. My name is Chase Lee, and I am irrelevant because my guest is way smarter than me, so he's gonna be doing most of the talking while I go sit back in the corner and cry. But how you guys doing? You guys doing pretty good? You guys seen any good movies lately, like Inherent fucking Vice? That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the most divisive movie I have seen so far from PTA this year in general. I will be going over, and my guest will be going over, and we're going to be talking about Paul Thomas Anderson films and why he is amazing, and I want to track him down and shake his hand. And we're also going to talk about the Ant-Man trailer that dropped, and a couple pieces of news, and of course the box office results for the weekend, and spoiler alert, Inherent Vice is not in the top 5. That's a shame. Alright, so my guest for this week, guys, a little backstory. I met this guy, what was it, 2000, was it 2011?
It was 2009, actually.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's when I started.
Okay, so I take that back. 2011 is when he started talking to me. So in 2009, I met
this... 2 years for me to start talking.
Exactly. So I met this guy when I went to the Art Institute, and we started clicking. I don't know why. We couldn't be more opposite, but guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That's why it fucking works. We have written a few little things. We have made a short film together. I look up to him as my cool uncle. I'm kidding. And he's a really good writer, guys. And it is Martin Graham. And the only reason why this is going to be the only episode he will ever be on, unless Paul Thomas Anderson makes another movie, is because this guy is hardcore. He doesn't like any mainstream movies, like, at all. He sits in his room and like he sucks on his thumb and like he rocks in the fetal position, and he'll watch Paul Thomas Anderson movies over and over again. So I asked him. I said, "Hey, you need to do this episode. We've been friends for so long, and this is episode 60, and you have not done a fucking episode with me." But of course, he wasn't going to do it until I reviewed Paul Thomas Anderson. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Martin Graham, one of the best writers I know. Martin, how's it going?
Going pretty good, man. I appreciate it. That's a lot of accolades in a sentence.
Hey, that's why I am a terrible writer and I have run-ons like everywhere. So, yeah.
Not true, Chase. You're fantastic.
No, Martin just lied to everyone and myself included. We do this over Skype, and Martin does not have his camera on, which means he just lied behind a wall, and I'll get him for that later. So, Martin, it's true though. Like, I want to let you guys know that like, I saw Boogie Nights probably when I was 13 because I wanted to see some tits. And so when I came out of film school, I rewatched it and I was like, oh, there's tits and it's a good movie. But when I met Martin, like, he pretty much got me on the Paul Thomas Anderson train, and I have not been off it ever since. And I've literally liked every single thing he's done. I've never had a problem with any of his movies. So Inherent Vice has come out, and it's getting a lot of heads turned. So before we get into that, I'm going off track. Let's get into the trailer and a couple of pieces of news before we begin this thing. So first piece of news, obviously the biggest trailer to drop since Monday was the Ant-Man trailer starring Paul Rudd, and is directed by the guy that did The Breakup and Yes Man. It also stars Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly, and Corey Stoll from House of Cards. I think that's how you do it. I think that's how you say it. I'm terrible with names. But, yeah, it's something like that. I like him in House of Cards. So the trailer. As you guys know, I get wet over anything Marvel, anything DC. And Martin is just now realizing that I get wet over comic book movies. So I gotta be honest with you guys. I thought it was underwhelming. There's like one aspect I liked about the entire trailer, and it's the fact that they're introducing children, not as like, you know, a sexual perversion way, because that would be illegal, but more of like this is the first superhero movie in a Marvel film that actually has like a kid, which is kind of cool. And Hank Pym, played by Michael Douglas, has a kid in the trailer, so it's gonna be very like family oriented. I just thought it was okay. I'm more looking forward to Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, but that's just me. It looks okay. I like Paul Rudd. I like Michael Douglas. I'll give it a shot just because it's Marvel. But yeah, it was just okay. but I do like the family aspect. Martin did not like it, I'm assuming. So, Martin.
You know what? And I love Paul Rudd. You know that.
Yeah, I know.
Love everything that guy does. Almost everything that guy does. Wanderlust is fucking stupid, but I mean, it wasn't. I don't think it's supposed to be the greatest thing in the world, but I think what kind of bugged me the most about the Ant-Man show, and I don't know much about the character, and I don't want to like step on comic book people's toes because they'll fucking bite them off. But I don't like the fact that they had to make fun of themselves within the trailer. I mean, that's kind of like not setting a great I mean, it's already called Ant-Man. I guess whenever they were coming up with that character, they just thought Spider-Man did really well. So they're like, let's pick another bug.
Do you think that like they were creating Spider-Man and like they were drawing the comic, whatever, and they looked over there in the corner and they're just like, what's that little speck on the ground? Is that a piece of dirt? And they're just like, no, it's an ant. It's like, shit, perfect. I really need to write this down. That's how
it's like they probably had a list when like Cricket Man, and they're like, that's worse. Let's go with something. Okay, what else is really strong? And then they're like, oh, well, I once read that they can carry a bunch of shit on their back, and maybe we can come up with something. I don't know what. And then I kept hearing about it, and then obviously with Marvel really really branching out and really creating their universe, which I think is great. I'm not opposed to like comic book movies. I do like comic book movies.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I kid. In all honesty, Martin likes to have fun. This is the same guy that also wanted to see Pacific Rim and Godzilla. So I know he likes to have fun in some way, shape, or form.
And I fucking hated them both. That's not to mean I didn't think they were going to be good. And they had, Godzilla was just kind of disappointing for me. That'll get us off on way too much of a tangent there if we go that way. But no, Ant-Man, honestly, like, I just felt that it was odd that they had to make, like, at the end when he's just like, can we change the name? I'm like, you're already talking shit about your own movie. Yeah. And it's just like, it doesn't set a very serious precedent for the film in general, who's already probably, going to get people who are, Guardians of the Galaxy, wasn't really supposed to be this like super huge movie. I think a lot of people thought it was going to suck. But it was obviously very good. I still haven't seen it, but I've heard a lot of great things, and I'm a big Chris Pratt fan.
Oh yeah.
It's great to see that man, really just emerge, man. I mean, and I've always thought he deserved, I'm a huge Parks and Rec fan. I always thought he was kind of just this standout, just natural kind of talent, and it's starting to kind of show. So it's kind of these silly Marvel movies and everything like that were starting to come out, and I just think that really putting yourself against that wall of already talking shit about your own name and everything just kind of set a weird thing for the trailer where they almost had me hooked for a second. I'm like, wow, they might take this seriously and try to make this kind of cool, and then Paul Rudd kind of uses his awesome comedic timing to make a joke, and it just seemed like a weird, ill-timed joke.
You know what's really weird is I actually agree with that. Like the whole trailer was like fine. I was like, it's okay. It got some moments in there, but it's really weird because then you slap the comedy at the end. So it's like, well, then what are you? Are you more of a comedy? Are you action comedy? Are you drama comedy? Like, what the fuck are you? So listen,
maybe should just not say the name throughout the whole movie. Just never say Ant-Man. Just like he's a guy and he looks like an ant, but he's not Ant-Man. It's just, I don't know. It was just a weird thing. And even when they said it, they're like, you need to be the Ant-Man. I would have been like, fuck off. I don't. If that's what you're giving me. These dudes have awesome names, and you gave me that one. But again, I'm not a comic book guy, so I have no idea what his powers are and what his links are to other characters. So, I don't know much about it. But I think Paul Rudd looks like he's definitely going to probably do good in it. I've always thought he's a great serious actor as well. He hasn't done a lot of it, but like in those few moments, I mean, you always have these comedic actors who you can tell just have that in them. I mean, look at Steve Carell with Foxcatcher.
Yeah.
And then who, to me, Michael Scott being one of the greatest TV characters of all time. I mean, going from those extremes, you see it in them. I think it's a lot easier for a comedic character to do drama than a drama actor to do comedy. So
yeah, no, I totally agree. And here's the thing, like, you're right. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy was the first gamble on Marvel, and I wasn't sure what to make of it because I've liked everything up until that point. But when you go and watch it, it's fun. It's just a fun movie, and like that's what I don't know. Like, because after Avengers 2, like when you watch that trailer, they're taking more of a serious route, which I'm totally fine with because Captain America: Winter Soldier was the tits. So I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'll give it a shot just because it's Marvel, but it's gonna be very interesting to see if it's the first kind of failure for Marvel. I mean, because if they fail on one movie, they're going to kind of have to rethink everything. Ant-Man might be that, but I think people will still get a chance. And plus, Paul Rudd's got the star power, like you said. So
Yeah.
he is definitely awesome. So that's it, guys. All the other trailers that came out were either shitty independent or shitty animation, and this was the only one worth talking about because it's fucking Ant-Man. So the next piece of news is very exciting because we get to see a first like strong black lesbian in film. Viola Davis is going to join the Suicide Squad as Amanda Waller. Now, I don't know much about the character, but what I can tell you is that her joining this cast of Tom Hardy, Jared Leto, Will Smith, Margot Robbie, Jai Courtney, gross, and yeah, I think that's it. So besides Jai Courtney, everyone else is awesome. But what really kind of stands out is that they got Viola Davis. Like, she's a very good actress. This is starting to like actually come out to be good. Like, I don't know, man. Like, Suicide Squad, DC, I'm telling you, like, after Batman, Superman, if they knock it out of the park, Suicide Squad's the next one following. DC could like kick Marvel's ass like within 2 movies. It's incredible. But like I said, I don't know much about the character. I just know that is an amazing piece of news, and I'm totally down for it. So, Martin, question: Viola Davis, Amanda Waller it's a good thing, right? And then of course, black lesbians. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen other films with black lesbians in them. They weren't mainstream at all. In fact, it was in a very dingy theater in West Hollywood. No, it's great. And have you talked about Jared Leto on here at all yet?
Oh yeah. I had the whole podcast on it. And I was like, this has got to be one of the best replacements after Heath Ledger I've ever seen.
I think it's good. I like Jared. I think he's obviously after his Oscar win, you can't really say he's not. But I've always kind of thought he had the talent since Requiem. I mean, I was a big Aronofsky fan, still am. Wasn't into Noah as much as I was other films, but I definitely think Jared's going to be good. I mean, I just think that's such one of those roles that you don't take unless you're just like, I'm pretty sure I can do this.
That's what I'm saying, like, because Jared, like, he picks his, like, projects, like, every so often. This is actually the first time he's actually done a movie, which was Dallas Buyers Club, and actually done a movie, like, within a couple of years, because he went on a 7-year hiatus for God knows, or, I mean, like, I forgot which movies they were in between, but, yeah, it's crazy.
He's got his band, too, so, I mean, like, he spends a lot of time with 30 Seconds to Mars.
The guy's fucking insane. Like, he's in his 40s, and he's got a popular band. Whether you like him or not, they're still successful. And then he's a successful actor who has got a fucking Oscar. Like, the guy's on a roll.
He looks like he's still 22.
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing all right for himself. And, yeah, I'm not a huge 30 Seconds to Mars fan. I've seen him, actually, a couple of times live, and it was weird because you forget. And I like I said, I was a big fan of Fight Club and Requiem and all these movies that he had been in, and you forget because you just see this lead singer up there, doing well. I mean, again, not the biggest fan of the band, but they are huge, and he's actually transcended that, and that's a really hard thing to do for me. And a well-known actor, and even like a well-known pretty boy actor, to then successfully get a band started with his brother, who's actually an excellent musician as well. So, I mean, that's really good to see.
Yeah, no, I'm actually really excited to see his interpretation of the Joker. And, it's like what me and Martin said, like, if Jared's very picky on his projects, he would have not taken this role if he knew he wasn't going to knock it out of the park. So expect talks. Like, I'm serious. Expect talks in 2016 when you see the movie to be, maybe people will think he's better than Heath Ledger. I'm telling you, that conversation is going to be brought up as soon as that movie is done with its run. So that's a great piece of news. Yeah, there was really other pieces of news. And plus, we're about to hit the 15-minute mark, which means we're going to get into the meat of this podcast. And I'm not talking about... I'm sorry, I was going to make a penis joke and it didn't work.
Yeah, that's fine. I knew where you were going with it.
Yeah, but... it's been an off day. It's just kind of gloomy and kind of shitty looking in Dallas, and then Martin's like probably on the beach somewhere.
It's raining here in LA today.
Oh, good. You deserve it.
Yeah, it's a fuck you to me.
Yeah, like, you deserve it, asshole. So, yeah.
But it was 80 and sunny the other day, so yeah.
Yeah, so you can suck a big one. So, Yeah, so that is the piece of news in the trailer for this week, guys. So comment in that place where I upload my voice and let me know what you think of the Ant-Man trailer, because I know there's a lot of Marvel fans out there, including myself. I thought it was okay. So let me know what you thought about it. So, Inherent Vice came out, but whoa. We can't be diving into that just yet, because that's the dessert. We gotta get into the entree. So, Paul Thomas Anderson. And the reason why Martin is on the show, not only does he like PTA, he introduced me to PTA, so, you know, it's courtesy to let Martin go first. But if you ever hear us say PTA...
It's not Parent-Teacher Association.
I was going to say poop-tastic something asshole. So, I don't know. Yeah, you know what,
kind of.
Yeah, you know what's really weird is like when people say PTA and you have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, then you're not a Paul Thomas Anderson fan. Whenever you hear PTA, you know you're a fan. So we're going to be talking about his films leading up to his newest one, Inherent Vice. And you know what's really cool about PTA? He's only made 7 fucking movies, so it's hard to miss one. So Martin, I'll let you go first. What are some of your favorite Paul Thomas Anderson films? Yeah, go for it.
I mean, I think you already know my answer for number one. It's always going to be Boogie Nights, and it's almost like I feel like if I was to, meet him, which I've obviously never got the opportunity to do. I've been in the same room with him and Adam Sandler when they did Q&A at this theater down the street from me, and he showed his actual personal print of Magnolia, which was pretty cool. But no, he would kind of be irritated that's my favorite, because that's kind of like the go-to one for everybody. But it really just was that good of a film for me. I know that some people will probably look back and they just remember the porn film where Mark Wahlberg shows his dick at the end.
That's all I remember.
And then honestly, when I was that age, I did see that film, and I didn't obviously appreciate it for what it was. It was just, oh my god, it's a porn film I can watch. It's like you heard about porn films at those times, but internet access was not that great. It was dial up, and nobody looks up porn on dial up.
Isn't it funny? Like, those guys that wear trench coats and really dark bowler hats, and they go to theaters and they're just like, I'm gonna go watch a porno and jerk my sausage link.
Yeah.
But when they see Boogie Nights, they're just like, oh wait, this is a wide release. People are actually seeing this without trench coats. I'm still gonna wear my.
There's scenes in between here. I can't just beat off the whole time.
I mean, what's strange is that they would probably actually wear the trench coat still and still masturbate in the back. So, it's Julianne Moore. I mean, that was a very good scene. So, go and continue.
No, but no, I mean, that, as far as being, a great ensemble piece, and really, for me, it was kind of, especially if you listen to, which is a shame he doesn't do anymore. He doesn't do a lot of commentary on his DVDs. I think the last one he actually did that on was Magnolia, and it's like film school, man. I mean, it really is. You can just listen to that guy talk and really get a hang on what the important elements. Now, you gotta, obviously, like how we did, we went to school and got the techniques, we got the basics, but just his general way with actors, and from a screenwriting point of view, doesn't really get to give too many of those secrets away. But he's just a really interesting person to listen to as far as his knowledge of film, because he's like a Tarantino, where they just know every fucking film that's ever came out since the fucking 20s. Every director, every actor, every producer, every writer. So Boogie Nights for sure. Obviously, that was the big one from that opening scene. I think it was like a 3.5 minute Steadicam shot was my first kind of thing, because I never saw the Touch of Evils or The Player and things like that, which had extremely long 9-minute shots. So that was kind of like my first exposure to somewhere where someone didn't cut, and just getting all those characters, and you really just learned everything about every one of those characters within 3 minutes. Then you have the rest of this very long, epic porn movie to watch, their inevitable ends or beginnings, however you want to look at the end of that movie. But I thought it was just an important film for me, and also an important film for film in general. I mean, it's just an exuberant film. It really is. It's the only way that's the only word that fits that film. Yeah,
and what's really cool about PTA's films, and this is all of them. They almost feel like a surreal dream, all of them feel like a dream that you're just kind of watching, and that it's very glossy. I mean, that's another way to put it. All these films are very glossy. Like, it looks like if someone were to sleep and they were to dream up some fucked up scenarios, we'd see PTA Films on that screen. Boogie Nights is a fantastic film, and like I said before, Martin sat me down and was like, "Listen, you can't just watch PTA movies for the tits." And I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll watch Boogie Nights again." And then I fucking loved it. Another one that I've really enjoyed. I love Boogie Nights. I love Magnolia. Magnolia is I battle.
It really is.
Yeah, I battle, man. It's like in the top 3 for me. But Magnolia is just like, it's one of the best epic dramas you will ever see. It's a
The first 6 minutes of that film, man. I mean, that kind of like little intro where he takes you through the 3 stories about coincidence. I mean, to me, that's some of the best stuff that's ever been put on film. Now, the rest of the movie, I love, but man, was it a fucking long movie. It's like 3 hours and 20 minutes or something like that, and it is heavy shit. I mean, you're dealing with cancer, you're dealing with death, and you're dealing with children, abuse, fatherly. I mean, it's not an easy film to take in for 3.5 hours.
No, it really isn't. But the cool thing about that 3-hour runtime is that you don't feel it. I remember when I watched it for the very first time, I was like, "Holy shit! 3 hours went by. My life is lonely. Wow, this is amazing." But no, Magnolia is seriously one of the most epic dramas you will ever see. Another one I've always talked to Martin about, and I've seen it more times than most of his films, is Punch Drunk Love with Adam Sandler. Like, I want him to do more stuff like that. I want Paul to call Adam on the phone right now and be like, "Hey, listen, man, I know things aren't really working well for your moral sensibilities when you do Jack and Jill and Grown Ups 2, so come over to the good side and I'll make you relevant again." So that was like the role where you can shut up any Adam Sandler haters and be like, "Listen, the guy's got talent. He just chooses to go to the money instead of more of the art form." And you can tell in this movie that like Adam Sandler totally kind of he enveloped himself into this character. It's a very recluse character. He's very kind of quiet, very timid, but when he explodes, he fucking explodes, and it's just amazing to watch. And then of course the most recent one he did, The Master. I remember when Martin walked out of that thing for the first time, and he texted me and he said that was the most. Would you say it was the most surreal movie that he's done, or something like that? Like you were just like blown away. You're just like, that was like the most.
I don't know what to think after that one, and I mean, still to this day, if I don't like ranking stuff like that, but if I had to say, it's not that it's my least favorite. I think personally that's the least accessible film that he's ever made.
Oh yeah.
But to me, I'll go back and watch it every once in a while. It's probably the one I watch the least of his, besides Magnolia. Yeah, just because, like I said, it's an endurance just to sit through that whole thing. And I mean, if you've ever had any personal, like, hitting close to home with like anything that had to do with like cancer and disease and things like that, and suicide, like it can be a tough film to watch. But The Master, man, it wasn't so much as a movie as just this weird. Like, if you were just somehow being able to hover over this weird-ass motherfucker and you got to follow him throughout his oddities and his struggles with actually trying to be just a normal person, which is kind of what I felt like he was going for. I mean, especially, I remember there was people in that theater. Number one, half of them were asleep. I'm not fucking joking you. And that's why I was actually going to go back to Punch Drunk Love, is I saw that in the theaters, and within 20 minutes, people were walking out.
That's actually the shortest movie of his. Like, why the fuck would you want to walk out of that one?
I don't know. I think that maybe they thought it was going to be Adam Sandler, like a Billy Madison type thing, or maybe it was going to be because I mean, it wasn't too long after those movies had came out that he did Punch Drunk Love.
True.
I think the what would have been Big Daddy would probably been right around there. Big Daddy and like what the fuck other movies that he had just done, like Reign Over Me, which was kind of a little bit more serious. Also Don Cheadle in it. But I think people just expected that goofy, funny slapstick Adam Sandler, and what they got was still a funny movie, but not necessarily what they had expected. And I remember a lot of people walking out, and I mean, I was just kind of entranced watching it, and like, this is a fucking weird movie too, but and I hadn't really got into Paul's like detail at that point, which is kind of nice, is learning about a director's movies first, and then when you start to gain your interest a little bit, when I started to get more into actually thinking that screenwriting and something in the film industry could be a legitimate career move, that you actually start appreciating the director then, and it's just like at least you got to appreciate his films for what they were first. But yeah, The Master was a lot of people sleeping, and it felt just. It was fucking weird, man. And like after it, I remember I went to the bathroom, and oddly enough, I had the same experience with Inherent Vices. I heard a lot of people who just didn't like it. They didn't understand it, and I don't know that there wasn't much that he expected you to understand. It was just that was a heavy character, Freddie Quell.
Yeah,
He didn't change throughout the entire movie. He and I think a lot of people are conditioned to see a character change, and they really want to see that, from north to south, kind of. Changing a character, and you don't get that with Freddy. You get a tiny click off. He's maybe a little click better than he was at the beginning when you see him, but I think that's what that part, which was another even for me sitting in the theater watching Philip Seymour Hoffman sing I Want to Get You on a Slow Boat to China. And he sings to Joaquin Phoenix's character. And it's kind of like he was just saying, and a lot of people are like, can't they just fuck? I mean, obviously they want to fuck at this point.
Obviously, there's so much sexual tension. It needs to happen while they're giving. Yeah, exactly.
So, what I kind of took that scene as is him kind of saying, "If I just had more time with you, I might be able to fix you."
Yeah,
and I thought that was a kind of a nice sentiment at the end of kind of an odd, intense performance from Joaquin. I mean that. He distorted his body for that role. I mean, the way he held himself up with his hands on his hips all the time, it was almost like he just couldn't stand up straight. He couldn't handle being a human being, and he just never changes. So I just think a lot of people were just like, well, what's the point? What's the point of me watching a movie? Because I think, like I said, especially with comic book movies, you have very clearly defined villains. You have clearly defined heroes. Sometimes they kind of mix up and you have like anti-heroes, but for the most part, you're watching for the change in a character, and you don't get that with them. So I really think that was people's kind of issue with that, because you can't slight that movie for cinematography, you can't slight it for acting, dialogue, anything, but it isn't your typical narrative.
Yeah, exactly. And what you have to realize when you go into a Paul Thomas Anderson film is that his characters are interesting, they're deeply layered, and sometimes they cannot be saved. Like it's kind of like watching a magical train wreck. And I've always contested that The Master actually harbors one of PTA's best performance he's ever gotten out of an actor, and that's Joaquin Phoenix.
Absolutely.
I actually have argued with people that Joaquin Phoenix's performance is better than Daniel Day-Lewis, even though I love Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Blood. I just think Joaquin Phoenix, like, he completely transforms himself. It's like with Steve Carell in Foxcatcher. And, I mean, you'll hear us talk about that in Inherent Vice, but, like, the one thing that you're never going to be disappointed in when you watch a PTA movie is cinematography, dialogue, music, and acting. Holy shit, he nails all four of those every single time. It doesn't, like, even if you're not a fan of the movie, it's like what Martin said, you're so entranced by what you're seeing, like, you want to finish it, that way you can kind of make out what the hell they were even, talking about. And so, his films are very thought-provoking. Yes, they're not like a typical shoot-'em-up blockbuster, but it's nice to go into a film and kind of be challenged a little bit and be like, why in the hell did you make this? That's the number one question I have every time I see one of his movies. It's like, why did you make a movie that's based around Scientology? Yeah. He said it wasn't about Scientology. It fucking was. But, like, why would you make a movie about, I don't know, the porn industry? Like, it's interesting. And the one thing I really like about his films is their characters. They're memorable. All of them. Like, Boogie Nights, when did it come out? Like,
97.
97, and we still talk about Mark Wahlberg and his penis. Like, it's just, that's the way it goes. And if you guys have not checked out any of his movies, what are you doing? I have said many times on this podcast, Paul Thomas Anderson is one of the greatest American living directors today. Like, I'm not even kidding. With that being said, not all of his movies get high praise. Besides The Master, I have not seen a film from him that's been so split with critics, it makes my head spin. And that film, ladies and gentlemen, is Inherent Vice. And that brings us into his latest film that came out literally, I'm recording this on the 11th of January, and it came out everywhere on January 9th, which was 2 days ago. Martin actually saw it last month because he lives in LA and he's cooler than everyone and he has to flash that in front of everyone. So he actually gets to see movies when they actually come out like a normal movie. So I saw Inherent Vice. I gotta tell you guys, I don't know why all these critics are confused. Like, me and Martin have a clear idea of why they're confused, but like, why so much hate? That's what I don't understand. A lot of the complaints for this film is that the plot's too jumbled, it's not a straight narrative, there's really nothing solved at the end, it's just kind of like left open for interpretation. I thought it was an excellent film. Because here's the thing about PTA that we did mention before. He has literally tackled almost every single genre. Like, this is how talented that man is. Think about it. Boogie Nights. I would consider that a bio drama. I would consider Magnolia a drama. I would consider Punch Drunk Love his romantic comedy. I would consider The Master as like a very weird, obscure film, and I would consider There Will Be Blood almost like a horror film.
I'm really glad that you say that, and I mean, I know that we have had conversations about that, but there's a lot of people who don't see it as that, and I mean, that's fine. You don't have to see a movie; you see it how you want, and I think that's the beauty of film in general, is that you take the genre and you apply. Some are very specific. The fucking Woman in Black it's a shitty horror, but it's horror.
Yeah,
you know that it's horror. But I definitely saw that to be a horror film.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially the end scene. Are you shitting me? Like,
yeah.
Oh, we don't want to spoil anything because that's not what I do in those podcasts. I'm classy as shit. But yeah, he tackles a genre. Like, that's what I like about his films. They are like an event. It's almost like, oh shit, Paul, which genre are you going to basically tackle next? And I got to tell you, Inherent Vice is like a combination of a black comedy and a romance movie. It's weird. And a stoner movie. So
hard-boiled detective, like, the old gumshoe detective thing, and you see that from the very beginning, even the dialogue. And I remember I was sitting in the theater and I looked around. I'm like, oh, these motherfuckers are gonna hate it.
Oh, I knew. I knew as soon as it opened. I knew as soon as Doc, played by Joaquin Phoenix, as soon as he started talking, I was like, he's talking in such weird language. Yeah. I'll guarantee you at least 6 people walked out, and guess how many people fucking walked out? 8, exactly. I was wrong. 6 did not walk out. 8 actually walked out. But it was really weird because, like, I was watching the movie and I was, like, engrossed in it. But I was noticing these people walking out. I was like, guys, give it a chance, please. But I guess you can't please everyone. So I'll go ahead and go first on this one. What I found to be really interesting about Inherent Vice is, I'm going to quote one of my friends, George McCann. He really liked Inherent Vice, and we actually agreed on everything. He actually said Inherent Vice is a movie about nothing, but ultimately ends in something. Or it was something along, like, I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like that. And I think he's right. This movie's basically, there's really no, like, journey that's kind of like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not something that's like a straight narrative like someone expects it to be. It's a very jumbled up type of journey between this character, but what's the most satisfying is the destination of where he ends in the movie, which is the very last shot. And so that's what you kind of have to get from this. It's a love story. It's a straight up love story. And if you cannot see that, I'm sorry, like, you're an idiot. It's true though. Like, Joaquin Phoenix is sitting on his couch smoking, and his ex-girlfriend comes into the picture. And she needs him to do something for him. And he kind of goes on this journey. And I've always compared it to a philosophical journey. There's even one character who I think plays a spiritual character for Joaquin Phoenix's character. It's basically a movie about what Doc Sportello is thinking and where his mindset is at in terms of this relationship. And that's what you kind of have to, if you go in with that mindset, or if you read the book, you'll probably be better off. But like, if you go in there expect like a straight up like detective story, you're gonna get fucked so hard in the ass, like you're gonna need a refund. So just know that it's a character journey kind of, but it's more of like the character where he's gonna go for his destination. And like I said, Martin knows what I'm talking about. The last shot is amazing because, I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna spoil it, but it gives hope for his character, and it gives hope for the love between him and what's the actress's name that plays the love interest? Catherine Waterston.
Waterston.
Waterston, yeah.
She plays Shasta Faye Hepworth.
Yeah, I have never seen her in any other movie or television show, but she's fantastic. Yeah, like I want to. I hope she's in more stuff. And
me too.
I mean, well, full disclosure, she has one of the longest nude scenes I've seen in a film in a very long time. Like, this doesn't spoil anything, but she's sitting on a couch, naked, delivering like this monologue to Joaquin Phoenix while he's probably stoned out of his mind, and it's like, this is nice. But no, it's a it's a scene that makes sense, so it's not just for the nudity. But she's really great in it. And then you have characters like Josh Brolin, who plays Bigfoot, which I have said that his character is basically the hard cop that tries to kick Doc's addictions. And Owen Wilson plays a character. I've kind of compared him to like the spiritual guidance. Let's see. Reese Witherspoon's an interesting one. I kind of got that she was. I don't know. Like I said, I saw this movie literally 3 days ago. Martin has seen it a month ago, so he's probably got a better grasp on everything. So I'm trying to like. It's a really hard movie to describe, and it's kind of hard to sell it. But I'm telling you everything positive about it, so you can kind of get it.
I think it's for me. It was one of those things where, again, I read it. So I read this book. Like a year and a half ago. The minute that I kind of found out that he was officially doing it, because he had actually been talking about doing this film before The Master. He had been trying to get funding for this one, and then Megan Ellison, who you know is like the savior of art house film at this point.
Yeah.
She really kind of comes in when other studios won't take on stuff, and she takes on a little riskier projects, which is, she could have turned out like Paris Hilton and just used her, because I mean her father's a pretty prominently rich man. I think he's one of the top richest people in the nation right now. But she could have been that kind of person, but she just really liked movies, so she ended up opening up her own production studio and did that. So I think that they had planned on doing it for before, so I bought the book, because the book only came out in like 2008 or 2009. I bought it right around when I moved out here, and I read it in, I don't know, two, 3 days or something like that. And it was also nice because I was reading it here, and it's such an LA, based book. It's like South Bay. It's supposed to be kind of where that town, Gordita Beach isn't a real place like it is in the story, but it's very much like a Manhattan beach. And so to be in the atmosphere of it and to be reading something like that, it really helped that. But I knew them, like, what the fuck is Paul gonna do with this thing? Because it has no. And that's the thing, it has no through narrative. I mean, from writing and everything, there's always that kind of theme. There's always that through narrative that, is kind of carrying the story from beginning to end. And it doesn't have that because the problem, again, we talked about it, is you open up on Doc and you have Shasta coming to him and she's asking him to do something for her. Her kind of, love, affair kind of thing is kind of going on. She's trying to, I don't want to spoil anything, so I don't know what to say and what not to say, but she asked Doc to help her, basically. Like you said, I think that's pretty relatable, of having an ex-girlfriend walk back into your life and shake shit up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's always been kind of like a universal theme. So then I think the one thing that kind of goes from there that threw the people off was that you're not following Doc on one job. You're not just following him to do that job where Shasta asked him to do. He's also got other shit. He's a working private investigator. He's got this other thing over here he was trying to look up leads on. He's also got this one over here that he's trying to do. But they all end up bringing him back to the job that Shasta gives him. Yeah, and they all kind of connect. Like whether it's Owen Wilson's character, which was technically a separate job, it ends up kind of blending in with the things that Bigfoot was trying to have done. So you kind of have this guy who's just doing his job, and it all ends up kind of blending into one. So there is no through narrative that he's just taking on this one job and taking it from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie. Yeah,
it's like what you said. Like, he's taking separate jobs, but ultimately it's going to weave together and kind of it's going to kind of blend in with Doc's character and kind of sum his character up at the very end. Like literally, like everything that happens like at the end, it kind of helps Joaquin Phoenix's character because it like I said, it's really hard to describe. Like Owen Wilson's character, that gives him some clearance at the very end. The end with Bigfoot and the drugs and stuff. Yeah, it gives him some clarity. And then the very end, like it's a very jumbled movie, but at the same time, it's not. If you follow it, like I'm serious, if you follow this movie straight up, like you should be fine. It should...
I think it's one of those movies where you don't even think like. Obviously, the problem with it now is we have so much outlet for it, and there's so many people that have already said that it's a weird movie, and even we're sitting here calling it weird. Go into it, don't even try to follow it. That's what I did. I'd read the book, so I kind of knew the in general thing, and it is extremely loyal to the book, except for a few scenes that I wish he would have put in. There's actually a scene in the book where he goes to this guy who has kind of invented the first, I guess if you want to call it like Google Maps kind of thing. It's like the first kind of internet, and it searches for people, and if you put in certain information, it'll find coordinates and find people. And he goes to this guy, and he's kind of like, I need to find Shasta. It's after she had disappeared, and this guy's explaining, you do this and you do that, and you're expecting him to be like, well, I need to find Shasta. Well, he ends up just saying, well, can this thing find me weed? And it's just a fantastic little scene, and I thought it would have worked really well, but he didn't put that in there. But for the most part, it was pretty close to the book. So again, I went into it with this idea, but again, I just kind of said, I'm just going to sit here and let this shit happen. Otherwise, it might get confusing because you're trying really hard to put the pieces together when the pieces are there, but they're not necessarily all going to connect. But the one thing that'll always connect, and it speaks a lot for the theme, is Shasta. That was it. He couldn't shake her. She was the ex that that either got away or that something didn't work out. But he cannot shake her, and that kind of follows through that entire movie. He just cannot shake her.
I think I think what you were saying is okay. I'll give you guys a hint on what this movie is entirely about, and this is not spoiling a damn thing. But if you connect this to this, what I'm about to say, you'll be just fine. You'll understand everything that's in the movie. At the very beginning, when Shasta asks Doc for help, and she goes off in her car, the title of the movie pops up. When you're watching the movie and the title of the movie is explained on what it means, and you connect that to where the title was placed on the beginning of the film, you will understand what this movie is entirely about. I'm not even kidding. As soon as that clicked, when I found out what Inherent Vice meant, I was like, holy shit, I got this. So, like, it's like what me and Martin said. It's really tough to explain, but he has read the book. I have not. He suggests that you kind of just go in there. If you read the book, just kind of like let it flow. I'm going to tell you as like, if you're part of the 99% that watches movies like maybe 3 a year, and this is the odd one that you picked for whatever gamble that you just lost, then I guess just, don't fall asleep and don't leave. I guess that's my best advice. Just try to follow along as best as possible and try to just realize it's a straight-up love story. And I think that's all you need to know. But the one thing that is great about this movie, just like all PTA movies, is that the cinematography is gorgeous. It's shot in film, so it's got like that cool 70s look. The acting is off the charts. It's written very well. And like I said, I've never read the book. Martin has. But this is PTA's first adapted film, and not having read the book, I think he did a pretty fantastic job. It's almost like he just wrote it himself.
Red Blood was sort of an adaptation,
kind of. But
I mean, he really just took the beginning of the story, and like where you have a guy in a hole and he's doing the mining and everything like that, and then he just added on.
This is like a straight up adaptation. Yeah. So this is his first adaptation. I think it's fantastic. I've actually thought about this. It's actually my second favorite behind Boogie Nights. I really loved it. And the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, you know what? This is so weird that it actually works. And I'm going to give it like a 9 out of 10. It's like a surreal dream of a love story from Doc's point of view. And I believe This is my last closing argument. I think that most of the movie, he was hallucinating. I don't think half the movie was real. I think most of the things took place while he was on the couch smoking. But that's just me, though.
I mean, I think most of the Golden Fang stuff was, I mean, because you never find out what it really is, and that's not spoiler. That's just you never find out what the Golden Fang is.
Yeah.
Is it this? Is it that? Is it this? Is it that? I don't think there ever was one. And I mean, that again, there's those parts, which actually I think that might, and I mean, I might be wrong, just because in Magnolia they might have used a few CGI frogs for that scene. But that little scene where you got to see, you know, like, everyone, he had that quick hallucination before he walked in the building. He kind of turns around and thinks he sees something. That might have been the first time that he's ever really used visual effects in one of his movies.
Yeah.
Because he's not known for that at all. But I can't remember if they did, or if they just used all fake plastic frogs for Magnolia.
I'm pretty sure it was probably a mixture.
Probably.
It was probably a mixture of plastic, and they probably just did a little bit in post. I mean, like, we're not saying PTA is a prude or anything. Like, if he needs special effects and if he thinks it's effective, he will use it. But for the most part, he does practical. Like, Inherent Vice is all practical, and it's beautiful. It looks like an authentic film. But yeah, the main character, Joaquin Phoenix, is sitting on a couch, and the movie opens up with him smoking. And if you do not correlate him with hallucinating half the shit in the movie, then that's probably why it loses you. But that, like I said, we can try to argue as much as possible to convince you to see it, but honestly, it's up to you. Like, if you're a Paul Thomas Anderson fan, give it a shot. If you're a fan of the book, give it a shot. If you're just a casual moviegoer that sees 3 movies a year, one of them is Transformers and the other one is like Ouija, and then this one, I would say stay away from it because you'll probably be very confused. So yeah, it's a stoner love story, and I really liked it. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I fucking loved it, man. Martin, what would you give it out of 10 if you had to rate it?
If I had to rate it, I don't want to feel like I'm being biased, but I would probably say, as far as his films go, I would give it probably a 7 or 8. And that's not a slight. It's just that, again, and it probably is behind Boogie Nights for me. I constantly find myself like, man, I should just go back to the theaters and watch it again and just chill and watch it. I've been listening to the soundtrack a lot because, not only am I a fan of the soundtrack because it's part of his movies, but Johnny Greenwood does so much work, and I'm a big Radiohead fan. So it's just a great soundtrack, not only for the stuff that Johnny did, but it's also got a lot of great tracks on it from the end of that 60s kind of, Minnie Riperton and Neil Young and Chuck Jackson, who the Any Day Now. I mean, and I think that's another thing he does great is music cues. I mean, I don't think anybody that really does music cues like he does except maybe Scorsese.
Yeah.
It's just like it hits at the right time, and for that to end on Any Day Now. And I think there was the Sam Cooke song that they had in there. I mean, it all kind of just speaks for the fact that this is a fucking love story. Like, it is a love story. You can tell from the music. You can tell from everything. I thought the Owen Wilson's character, honestly, as little as he kind of got in that film, man, was that a fucking great little story within there. I mean, and when he, finally gets his redemption at the end, I really was like, that's perfect. Like, and I think that's kind of where maybe some people kind of started to come back around, but man, like I said, I was looking around that theater and there was a lot of people checking their watches, which sucks.
Yeah.
Just because you knew that, like, and I had the same thing during the Master, even when Christina had went with me, and and I don't always want to take her through those things because she likes Paul Thomas Anderson films for sure, but that's how you can kind of gauge it because she's more of a casual film watcher, and when you see them kind of itching and being like, it's just like, yeah, unfortunately he's lost a few people,
and that kind of sucks, but like. The thing with PTA is it's like a Scorsese or a Tarantino. Every time when he comes out with a new movie, it's an event. It doesn't matter like if you are into his films or not. Like, for some weird reason, people still go to give his movies a chance,
Yeah, they should. I mean, it's you do have your typical ones, and that's why I like to watch something that's a little not so. And I don't think he demands that you watch his movies more than once, but I do think it kind of takes that. Yeah. I think it takes a little bit of dissecting it, letting it sink in, letting the initial kind of performances and cinematography because they are so just glaring. Then you want to go back and then you start picking out little things. There's times where I'll go back. I don't watch Boogie Nights as much as I used to. I used to watch that movie like it was a fucking... I couldn't even tell you, but there's times where I'll go back and I still see something new that I never noticed the first time around. And I think that's, for me, at least when I look at directors like that, that really just makes a great film, is when you can just constantly pick something out and find something new. And it might not even be that it was necessarily something you didn't see before, but maybe you've gone through an experience since the last time you watched it, and now you've picked it out as something that you've made in your head. Is, you know, you can kind of connect these things from the movie to yourself and your life. That's what I love about the man. I mean, he's just very personal, and he gets that out of his actors, and it shows.
Yeah, and like the cool thing about his movies, regardless if they're split or not, people still talk about it. Like, people either really love it or they don't really like it, and it doesn't matter if you hate it or not. People are still fucking talking about his movies to this day. Like, if you ask, I'm serious. Like, I've talked to many people. A lot of people say his favorite is Boogie Nights. A lot of people say that is Adam Sandler's best performance in Punch Drunk Love. A lot of people say Daniel Day-Lewis's performance in that There Will Be Blood was the best performance of the 2000s so far. People will say The Master caused a lot of controversy when it came out. It doesn't matter what you think. People still talk about his movies regardless. So, listen, it's Paul Thomas Anderson. I will watch anything he touches. It's just the way it goes. And for Martin to, would you score it like you say a 7 or 8?
Yeah.
So just to let you guys know, anytime when Martin scores anything above a 5, this thing is like it's holy grail. So I mean, like just keep that in mind. And because you have to keep in mind, Martin's a smart dude, and I am a guy that likes American Pie. So I have to
American Pie.
Oh, whoops. This is coming from a guy that likes Scary Movie.
It was okay.
Oh shit. Fuck. Well, hold on. I'm not gonna end this until I find something that you hate, so I can make my analogy. This is coming from the guy that likes shit. I'm looking at my collection right now. Austin Powers.
Oh, come on, man. I love Austin Powers.
Fuck me, man. This is coming from a guy that likes. Fuck.
Gotta be something there. I know there is.
Oh, perfect. Any Kevin Smith movie.
Oh yeah, fuck him.
Okay, so anyways. So you know, coming from a guy that likes Kevin Smith movies and coming from Martin that likes really good movies all the time, it's a nice balance because you know I have to kind of bring my fanboy isms down a little bit, and I have to kind of look at it as a film and whatnot. Martin kind of sets me straight because he knows that coming from a guy that likes Final Destination, I need to be kind of brought down to the real world just a tad. But you know, as much as like our us trying to convince you that Inherent Vice is good, our reviews were also jumbled, just like the movie. It's a weird movie to describe, but I think if you go see it, give it a chance. I think you'll really love it. It is a very weird love story. And I have a question for Martin. How many dudes do you think were shaven to get the pubes on Joaquin Phoenix's face for his sideburns?
I would say 6, but it was probably more like 15.
I think it was all the extras from Boogie Nights, and I think Paul just said, "Hey, just come back and we'll shave you and we'll put it on Joaquin's face."
It's like, if any of you guys still have the ball hair we put on you from Boogie Nights, shave that and then come back and we'll put on his huge fucking mutton chops. And then I gotta say, that's not how I pictured Doc Sportello when I was reading the book at all. And if you go look, and it's funny, and I'm really glad that this happened because it kind of affirmed like what I was thinking. But he looks like fucking Neil Young. And the other night, Joaquin Phoenix was on Kimmel, and I don't know if you saw that episode. You definitely should go back and watch it, just because Joaquin Phoenix, the awkwardness of that man. But he actually, Jimmy put a picture of Neil Young next to a picture of Doc Sportello, and it's pretty identical.
That's awesome. Like he looks like a cracked out Wolverine, like an older Wolverine, like that's been on heroin for like 20 years.
It's fucked up because I saw some little blurb where somebody was fighting that Hugh Jackman should have got that role, and like, is it just because he kind of had the sideburns and now that's automatically a Wolverine thing?
That's stupid. Like, listen, as much as I love Hugh Jackman, he's actually a good actor outside of Wolverine. I don't think he
He's
would.
a fantastic actor.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been perfect for that role, like at all. Like it would have been very awkward. And for someone to pull Doc Sportello off, I think Joaquin Phoenix is just as crazy enough to work. Like, but yeah, that's our thoughts on Inherent Vice, guys. Like I said, we could probably talk about this movie for hours, but unfortunately, there is a limit to this podcast to where I don't want you guys to like kind of die of boredom or like have your ears explode. I don't know. Like, if you guys like listen to me past 45 minutes, I'm sure there's like some internal issues that happen with inside you. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. But Inherent Vice, check it out. I'll probably see it next week for a second time. All right, getting on to the box office results for the weekend. This is Martin's favorite part because he probably has not seen any of these movies. All right, so
Curious.
Ooh, shit. Where the fuck is Inherent Vice? Oh, there it is. Inherent Vice actually came in at number 11 with 2.9 million, and right now it's got 4.4.
What's the budget on that? I don't even know what his budget was.
It's unlisted. So,
yeah.
But I mean, to be honest with you guys, as much as I love Paul Thomas Anderson, his movies do not make much money, like
No,
at
they
all.
don't make any money.
They really don't. Like it's almost like I'm actually like really curious on how he convinces people to fund his movies.
It's because actors want to work with him. Because
Exactly.
when you have any actor, they're just kind of like, yeah, that's one director I want to work with. I mean, a lot of those people didn't make a lot of money. I mean, he's not Spielberg level, but I mean, it's kind of sad that the amount of money he brings in for his films, and they don't cost all that much. I don't think.
Sometimes his most profitable one today, I think, is There Will Be Blood. And like I don't think Magnolia made its money back. I don't think Boogie might. Punch Drunk Love. Like I seriously think that like all of his movies have been in the red ever since he's been like brought in. Which like you said, which is sad. But I mean, 4.4 for the type of movie it is.
Not bad.
I'm actually surprised he made that much. So number 5 is the Angelina Jolie directed movie that no one really knows the plot to because people just associate Angelina Jolie's name to it. Unbroken with 8.3 million. Holy fucking shit. It's got 101 million for domestic, 115 worldwide on a $65 million budget. You guys gave money to it, you assholes. Now she's going to think she's good and she's going to direct another one. Number 4 is The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. I love the trilogy, so I'm glad to see it still in there. It's 9.4 million for the weekend. Domestic haul is 236, worldwide 781. Fuck yeah, Peter Jackson rolling in that dough. Number 3 is Into the Woods. Why? 9.7 million with a domestic total of 105 million, worldwide 120 on a budget of 50. You assholes! It made its money back. Oh, it made some profit. What is wrong with you? Number 2 is Selma with 11 million. I actually want to see this. It's got 13 million domestic and it's on a 20 million budget. But I think after the Golden Globes and Oscar push, this movie will definitely make its money back. And number 1, as always, is a man with a particular set of skills for its third time around. Taken 3.
Really?
Yep. Martin, I want you to guess how much it made.
Fuck. 200 mil?
It's not the Avengers. Calm down.
I don't know. Who the fuck knows nowadays with that? I mean,
it's true. It's true.
I didn't even know there was a Taken 3 till about 4 days ago. And I was like, seriously? They made another... I mean, are they just taking his kids away from him? Because...
Well, I think that, like, the first one's the kid. The second one, I think, is the kid again. And I think this one is... he's being framed for something, but in all reality, they should have just taken, like, his coat rack or something just to make it more interesting.
I mean, no one should hang out with him. He's like Jack Bauer. Nothing good happens when you go around this dude. You either get taken... Yeah, you just get taken, but they just take his kids and family away from him. It's insane. I mean, I love Liam Neeson. That dude's
he's awesome. But I mean,
Neeson. He's got to that point where he's more than just what he is. He's like he's just at that level of person at this point. But I never saw the second one just because I thought the first one was enough. And I actually liked the first one. I think it's a good film.
That's the thing. I actually liked the first one. I did not see the second one because I heard it was junk, and I don't really want to see this one. I'm actually cool with just excluding the fact that Taken 2 and Taken 3 are like non-existent, and I'll just assume that Taken 1 is the only one. But it made, get ready for it, $40 million. That's a lot. And worldwide's got 91 on a budget of 48. So you do realize, ladies and gentlemen, within $5 million, it would have broken even. What the fuck? They're going to make a Taken 4, and it's going to be his, I don't know, his fucking toilet seat or something, and it's going to be like the best, like, thrill ride of January. I don't know. You guys fucking suck. Why are you seeing movies like this? See Inherent Vice. I'm going to list, like, movies off right now that you should see. Hobbit, Inherent Vice, Interstellar, Birdman, Whiplash, Nightcrawler. Like, what are you guys wasting your money on Taken 3 for? You know what's going to be taken, okay?
You know how many of those films I've seen? None.
Oh, well,
I need to see all of those. All the ones you named off I still haven't seen, and I feel guilty as all the people you're yelling at right now.
Well, Martin hasn't really seen anything, so I'll exclude him just because I know who he is and, like, I know how he works. So
I'm slow. I'll see them next year.
Yeah, exactly. He'll see them out when they're on Blu-ray, like 8 months after or something. So, but shit, I don't know. Let's play a game, ladies and gentlemen. Just real quick before we end this. What should I suggest Martin see? And I'm only going to pick one movie. Now, you guys have to keep in mind, I've known him for a long time, and Martin's very picky. But if I had to pick one that I think he might enjoy,
after this, I'll tell you the one I think I'm going to see next. But then go ahead.
Okay, I think that you should see either Whiplash or Birdman.
I think Whiplash is going to be my next one. I again late to the party, but just watched the preview for it today.
You know how like when someone says there's going to be a party on Saturday, Martin will come 3 years later.
With a bottle of fucking something, and I'll be ready to party. I'm like, oh yeah, sorry.
You'll come there with expired wine.
Yeah, exactly. It just went back to grapes at that point.
Exactly. But no, like I think you'll
saw the preview for it because Bradley Cooper was on Stern earlier this week, and he was really just playing it up. And and another thing he was playing up a lot was Inherent Vice, because I know Bradley Cooper's a huge Paul Thomas Anderson fan, and I know that he's mentioned him almost every interview I think I've watched with him. He at least tries to fit it in there, and I'd love to see them work together one day. Because I think Bradley is right now doing some Broadway stuff, but he kept bringing up Whiplash. I'm like, okay, I keep hearing about this. J.K. Rowling's a great actor. Actually, I think that's a Simmons. J.K. Rowling's a fucking Harry Potter shit, but it looks good. It looks like the first part of the preview was just like it looked like a huge music kind of thing. And I was like, I don't know about this. And then they kind of show how devious his character really is.
Oh, dude, you would fucking love it. Like he's been compared to Arlie Ermy in Full Metal Jacket. It's fantastic. Like just to watch like J.K. Simmons on screen, like yelling at Miles Teller, like telling him, God, I think it was either pig fucker or something. I can't remember, but it was fantastic. Especially
anytime you call anybody pig fucker, it's fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's gonna win an Oscar. He's actually the front runner to win the Best Supporting Actor for the Oscars. But I think if you like jazz and like you just like a good fast paced movie that's not an action movie, then I think you'll fucking love this. It's got one of the best endings I've seen all year.
Great.
Besides Inherent Vice, like Whiplash it was my number one favorite movie of last year. It's just unique. Martin, please take my advice on this one. See Whiplash. Well, if you're disappointed, then that's obviously like the 50th movie that you've been disappointed for me like suggesting like yeah.
I won't be that irritated. No, Nightcrawler I definitely want to see too, just because Robert Elswit, who did Inherent Vice, the cinematographer on Inherent Vice, did Nightcrawler as well, and I just keep hearing how like amazing he made LA look, and I'd like to see this difference.
It's amazing. I haven't seen anything look that good since Collateral.
That was great too, and I think that was another Robert Elswit.
Yeah, exactly. Like it had the Collateral flavor, and Nightcrawler is fantastic. Jake Gyllenhaal, best performance of his career, hands down. And then I think you like Birdman. I think Birdman's it's very good. So those would be my top 3 for you to see. But yeah, just to let you guys know, if you liked Martin, I'm sorry he will not be back because he only will come back if I
I'll be back in 3 years when I watch Whiplash.
Exactly. Like, hey, Martin, you remember Whiplash in 2014? Yeah, it was a really good movie. Oh, sorry, it's 2017. Moving on.
They've actually made Whiplash 2 since then. So.
Whiplash year. So this is the last time you'll see Martin for a while. So, Martin, where can the kids find you if they want to get a hold of you?
Probably in my room. No, I don't have any major thing. I do have. I guess I have something to plug. There's a movie that I helped co-write that it will be coming out later this year, summertime, more than likely. It's called Inhumane. Stars Michelle Money and Jason James Richter. Both fantastic, and this is kind of their. I think it's a horror film. It really is. I won't get too into it, but you can go check it out. I believe it's www.inhumanemovie.com. There should be a trailer up in the next couple days, I believe. There was a little quick teaser. I think, Chase, you might have seen it.
It was. Guys, listen, it's a really good teaser. And if you think I'm joking, Martin's one of the best damn writers I've ever known. And hopefully when he hits it big, I can coattail with him and go with him. So, yeah, he's a great writer, guys. If you have a chance to check any of his shit out, please do. Like, I just want to let you know, anytime I write something, I send it to this man because he knows that I'm terrible at run-on sentences and he can help me. I'm like a third grader, and he's like my college professor. So, yeah, just follow Martin on whatever. If you search him on Google, you'll probably find a bunch of snuff films, but you also find his films that he's written. So
yeah, which are equally as good as my snuff films, but some are not as family friendly as the others.
I think your snuff films were lacking in cinematography and music, but I mean that's just my preference.
That's because it was one shot on a guy with a bag over his head. So
so just to let you guys know how cool Martin is, we just ended this podcast on a snuff joke. So I want to thank you guys for listening on this really extensive one. I went over an hour on this one, but it was totally worth it to talk Inherent Vice, PTA, and Paul Rudd's Ant-Man, where when he shrinks, his penis does not. So
that's the real superpower.
I mean, that's the real superpower. Instead of riding an ant, he rides his dick. So if you guys have any comments on any of these stories, comment in the place to upload my voice and let me know. Martin, I want to thank you again for coming on. I will talk to you later and send you so much for having me. No problem. I will send you another script to have you look over because I have the mental capacity of a kindergartner. So I will talk to you later, and then I will see you guys next week for guess what? It's that time of year. Oscar nominations. I will go over them. I will predict all the winners, be right, and then when the actual night comes, I will be wrong. So I hope you guys have a good night, good day. If you listen to us while taking a shit, that's okay. Just don't shake my hand. I'll wave to you from a distance. So this has been another episode of Reel Me In, a movie podcast. That is Martin Graham. I'm Chase Lee. You guys are awesome. I fucking love you. I will see you next week. Goodbye.